we have a lot of variety there, and pretty much you say there's bush growing everywhere, but all of these things could technically replace bush in the right places, right? And that is really the direction that we want to go, is that if we create edible landscapes where the entire landscape has all of this spread in it, there would be less and less, and this would be healthy food, right? It'd have no food miles on it. The longest food miles would be bringing it from one end of the island to the other end of the island. All right. The freshness of it would be a lot. It's not in a shipping container for 2 weeks or anything like that.
So you have to green all together.
All right. So the ideal situation, and maybe it's not possible, or maybe it is possible, because if, like I said, there is some catastrophe that stops food getting here, very quickly people would, well, there's two things. There'd be chaos, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
People would start looting,
Yes.
all right? That is, so that's what I always tell people. I can have the most perfect permaculture farm in Trinidad, and if we have a catastrophe, within a week people will come and raid everything I have, right? So the fact of the matter is we have to get communities to become sustainable, so that if there's a catastrophe within the community, because if I'm the only one with food, everyone else in the community will come and take my food, right? But if the community is self-sufficient with enough food within the community, then they might repel other people coming from into the community, but they would protect what is over there. And these are much bigger pictures that we're talking about, but it's something that needs to be discussed. All right, is that in case, and we have the components here, but a lot of times if you plant a lot of these, one is that you may not get sale for it, right? Because it gets bad quickly. In which case we need to look at value adding. All right, how can you take these things and put them into a form that you can make money from it, but you don't have to sell it right away, right? So I don't know the answers, all right? But it is something that all of you all need to think about, that if we're talking about food security and we're talking about fresh food and we're talking about healthy food, this is where it will come from, instead of it coming in a container from somewhere else. And as much as this that you can grow around us, and each of you all pick 5 things from here that you grow around your house, that's helping. And if you choose 5 easy things you can grow from here, and they grow the first year, and the next year you choose another 5 from here and you put them in, and the following year you choose another 5, very soon you all will have all kinds of things. And that's how Nia started here. There's a lot of diversity here. If you walk around Nia's property, when we went by Jamal, he has a lot of diversity around him. All right, it's a small space. When we went by Pleasant Valley yesterday, they have a lot of stuff growing around there. And they didn't plant it all at once. They didn't take a course and then the next day they had tons of food. They started piece by piece, and then they added on and they added on and they added on. And that's what you need to do if you're looking at food security, is every so often you need to go back to your list and say, what don't I have? How many of you all have a lot of this? Right. Okay. So there's resources here. Small, but pretty much every day you can go in your yard and find something to eat. Once you have something like this,
yeah, that's
right. Right. So, if it could be veggie, it could even be herbs that you put into your pot, something like that. But the whole idea is to get people to start thinking about this bigger picture, and then, like we said, if we're looking at breadfruit, planting it on the island, and we have the processing in place, then where would we plant it? Because it's a big tree. And so people are not going to plant it in their yard because it's too big.
Especially if you have a system, it will literally go right under and eventually probably end up finding its way into the system.
Because it likes moisture, all right? And where's the most moist places on this island? The guts, right? So, but where does all the garbage go as well?
the gods.
The guts, all right? So the ideal situation is if the guts start growing people's food, maybe they won't be throwing their garbage in there. All right? If you think about that way. Because if your food is coming right out of the gut over there, you're less likely to go and tip all your stuff there. It might be someone else from another community will come and tip stuff in your community you got, which tends to happen a lot.
It's appliances, you put them in a box, you know.
Huh?
Appliances.
I know. I have TVs, washing machines thrown in my river, dead dogs, dead cows, all kind of thing. People drive by the bridge, they throw it over, and it's over there collecting under the bridge.
I think one thing we may want to consider, because you spoke about if tropical stuff's coming, they know that you have food, so they're going to come to your place. In some of the European countries, like Holland, they're planting fruit trees along the roadside. Instead of planting, you know, ornamentals, they're planting fruit trees.
For anyone to
So
take.
anybody can take. Now the thing about it is, you know, some of our communities, people are very selfish, self-consumed, greedy, however you want to describe it. They're going to go and harvest all and come and try to sell them to you. But that's one way to try and offset the whole issue of people first thinking of, let me go to Kelvin's yard because I know he has bananas. So that's something that we can think about as well, as an organization or as organizations. Rather than planting just ornamental trees, we can plant fruit trees along some of the roadsides. Be they coconut, be they, you know,
Canada as well
avocados.
does that.
Oh, Canada.
They
All
have,
by the stoplight,
all by the stoplight, they got tomato tree, all by the
passion
parks,
fruit.
they have a set of fruit trees and stuff like that, vegetables.
Well, that's something that we may consider, and
Because
even with the breadfruit trees.
Because they even
That'd
have
be good
community
to grab
gardens.
Yeah.
and then you could use it as shade too.
So there are so many benefits of creating more edible landscapes, right? Because we're the only living thing on this planet that charges for food.
And parent.
Human.
All right, everything else gets their food for free.
Yes, part of that capitalist.
If you think about it, we're the only people that we grow food and we have it over here, and you can't have any of it over there. Everything else just goes out and makes food, right? And that's how the rest of life on this planet survives, is that food is around them all the time. If there's no food, they die. But most of the time, food is available. They have to work hard, sometimes foraging for this food, but it is there. And they say there's enough food on this planet for everyone. It's just some people have it and some people don't, and it's kept away for politics, all kinds of reasons, economics. So again, it's something that, as it's the Horticultural Society, growing all kinds of food is part of horticulture as well, right? Does that fall under horticulture, or do you just do it as flowers?
Well, we started out as only flowers. I don't know how we arrived here. Maybe the whole spiritual, maybe the whole spiritual journey that we spoke about this morning. I honestly, how did we arrive here, Pamela?
There's a food security crisis on us.
That's true. Another thing I want to mention is, apart from planting food along roadsides, there also it's a big thing in some places in California and Detroit, where they are establishing a number of community gardens. So people from the community would come and participate in the process, and at the end of each cycle, you take home a certain amount of food. That is another thing, another way of offsetting the issue.
Western had a little one going on there by Captain Street, by Leonora Delville.
Oh, by the school.
Doing great things, but that was part of the plan for the wellness councils that we were supposed to be trying to get it across the communities, but maybe when we get the district councils going, we'll push that.
Well, these community gardens that I am referring to are not government funded, nor is it government initiative.
Non-profit.
These are
Community people.
coming together.
Marriott
Yeah.
and Ava Ross and was down there.
Oh.
That's what they were doing.
Yes.
It was a nice guy, but the whole a lot of
Producing a lot
water.
of stuff, and they were using
By whole a lot of water.
sargassum as the
It does have a
manure.
lot of water settled in there.
I
So
think
I had a
You
question.
Yeah, I kind of like, I get excited, but I try not to get too excited, you know. But I like the whole sustainability conversation. But the thing is, how do we keep accountable? Because we could just talk until eternity comes and nothing happens. So do we hold ourselves accountable to say, okay, what's the next step if we're going to walk towards sustainability? Okay, if we're saying that is a crisis for food, then we are actually exhibit A.
It's a community effort.
Yeah, so how do we maintain this drive?
By firstly removing ourselves from that individualistic posture.
So
that
we're
we
here.
keep
So
ourselves
this
in.
group is here. So
So
how do
we form a
continue
group
from
then
here?
So
with
Yes.
this group.
the next step is if each of y'all can actually grow food around your house. That is.
That's
So
number one.
it's not that you're gonna tell anybody else to grow food around your house. You're gonna grow food around your house.
Right.
That has it has to start with each of y'all here, whoever's interested. That you have to put some kind of food around your house, that you can inspire other people to put some kind of food around their house, and then it'll keep getting better. If you say you went to this course and you have no food growing around your house, you are now an example of a lot of people that take workshops that don't ever implement anything.
Another talk show.
So, that's a hard comment to make, but that's a true comment because in Trinidad, the amount of free courses that are given out and the amount of certificates people have, and I don't see them using any of it. It's sad in a way.
Because it's free.
It is free.
Anything free has no value. People don't place as much value on anything that is free.
When I get free thing, I cherish
Well,
it. I cherish free things.
The hard work starts now.
Yes.
This is easy.
Yes.
It's the next
It's
bit.
coming and listening
hard
to
work.
the
Yeah.
information. It's now putting the information into
Existence.
existence is the next hard step. And like I said, the challenge is, as many of you all here that can plant food around your house.
Or plant more.
If you have already, plant more, and I think also if it's possible, using social media just to show other people that you're doing it, and maybe the Horticultural Society can feature certain people if they're willing to, that is showing that they're growing food around their house. It just helps inspire other people, because there's a lot of good things happening all over the world that is never featured, and all the time the news is the bad news. Right? All the time. So that Trinidad has a very bad reputation for crime, but when foreigners come to Trinidad, most of them see no crime, and a lot of, like, I have interns that when they come to Trinidad, they are so scared. But none of my doors are locked, none of my windows are locked, anytime. And I feel safe, right? And it depends on the area you're in, and anywhere in the world there are safe areas and there are unsafe areas, and it's always the unsafe areas that you hear about, and the safe areas that you get no information about, or the good things that people are doing you get nothing about. So it's also about trying to publicize some of the good efforts that people are making.
I will say though, Earl, that because of some of the issues that some people have experienced, like bananas going missing,
Right.
coconuts going missing, people are sometimes a bit hesitant to share their information if they're sharing their
Yes.
location.
Yes.
If you could do it
Understand that.
anonymously, like nobody knows where you are, then I think it's a lot easier. But if people know where you're located, it does make it a bit of a challenge, because those with not so good intentions will find you, and you'll see them on the side of the road selling the stuff that they take from your property.
So we have a prevalence in the BVF people raiding farms? Hi, Portia. Good afternoon. You realize I'm not calling you your daughter's name today.
Thanks for that.
Yes, and so this seems to be a continuation of what you started just over the weekend. We
Right.
see you have a series of activities engaging farmers. You want to take us to what caused this?
Wow. So as we said in one of the earlier interviews, we started out just talking about ornamentals. That's how the group was formed. We orchid lovers, anthurium lovers, hibiscus lovers, and so we got together thinking we would do a flower show. And the flower show, we started talking to people, and people were telling us, you can't eat flowers, we'd like to see more. Initially, we were hesitant because, of course, there was a lot going on with agriculture as well. And then we decided, okay, we're going to just incorporate it into our program. Maybe not as big as the ornamentals. And it just spiraled. We really didn't have any control. It's sort of like a spiritual thing where it where it just happened.
Okay, and then we see now you have a series of workshops with farmers, not necessarily for ornamentals,
Right.
but for actual food.
Right. So I had done quite a bit of research because, as I mentioned, I grow food, I grow ornamentals. So I'm always researching, and I stumbled upon Erle on YouTube. His program in Trinidad being quite phenomenal, I thought maybe we should bring him, not only just for a day, but to do a series of workshops. So these are the same people we've been working with every day. So we actually had 30 people sign up. We had to turn away 10 people because we can only accommodate 20. So 20 people plus ourselves made the group like 25. And it's the same 25 people every day, except Green VI has one person on rotation. Has a rotation whereby one person per day, in addition to their 3 registrants. Erle has come in and everybody's been totally engaged. We are sorry to see him go because after 4 days, we still feel hungry for more information. So hopefully we can have him back at some point to do a longer course.
Okay, so over the days, I think it's 3 or 4 days.
The first part of the course is 4 days, and then we do half day in Virgin Gorda tomorrow.
Okay, so you want to tell us what the 4 days entail? What are the topic areas?
Yes. So there is a form of agriculture called permaculture, where you integrate everything on your land, your water, your power, your short crops, your trees, your animals, and it's all integrated so that you can save water or say capture more water, capture power and everything on your property. So the first day was the introduction to permaculture, teaching us about the various principles of permaculture. Then the second day was all about studying soil, learning about your soil, how to amend your soil, how to make your soil better, how to have healthy plants as a result of healthy soil. And then yesterday was water management. The first day we did at Green VI, the second day we did at Plantwise, and yesterday was at Pleasant Valley in Seacows Bay. And that was all about water, developing swales, how to capture water on your land. Because as you know, Kathy, most of everybody who tries to do farming here always complain about the lack of water. Right? Short water supply, no water. So yesterday was all about how to capture water, how to keep water in the soil, the cheapest ways or least expensive ways to get water onto your property. And people found it very, very helpful. We live on the hills, as you know, and a lot of us struggle to keep the water on our properties when it rains, particularly when it rains heavily. So that session was really very useful for us yesterday.
And today's focus?
Today we are going over some of the principles. Today is more like the integration day. So we learned something on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now we're pulling it all together.
Okay, and what's for Virgin Gorda? Virgin
Gorda, we're just going to do a general overview because it's just 3 hours, whereby we've done 4 days here. We can't afford to have him any longer, so he's just going to do the half day in Virgin Gorda, sort of a general overview.
Okay, what is the expected outcome of all of this?
Everybody who's here is excited to go off and start implementing some of the principles that they've learned. We want to encourage more people to grow food around their homes, even if they're not actual farmers or gardeners, if they could just grow a little something around their homes. Everybody here is really excited about going and implementing, because most people here actually are gardening already or have farms already, and they just want to be able to implement some of those principles. And then we want to be able to encourage more people to join the movement, because you know, Kathy, right now we are in uncertain times. You don't know, what's going to happen tomorrow. And so we want to ensure that we can at least feed ourselves.
Okay, so you can safely say now the Horticulture Society is a society or organization has now blossomed into something more. You may probably need to add another byline to your name.
It's amazing how much we've accomplished in so short a time, because we only came together as a group in September of last year. And we only got our legal status in December. So from September to December, we really couldn't do anything. So what we were doing is putting all of our documentation together, all of our bylaws and all that sort of stuff, getting ourselves
ready for when we got our documentation, and then we were able to just skip off and do everything that we had talked about. So we started planning the actual event in like February, and of course we're new, so it was very challenging to raise funds because nobody, knew what our capabilities were or anything like that in that regard, because we hadn't done anything like that before. But we're very pleased with what we've done with the little that we were able to raise. And we hope that our sponsors, our supporters are also pleased and will continue to support us. We're looking for new members. You can go online to our website, vihorticulture.org. You can sign up to be a member. You can sign up to just assist us in achieving our goals, and also just, express interest in making the BVI the great place we all know it can be.
And moving closer to being self-sufficient when it comes to getting our food.
Yes.
Okay.
You should never depend on anybody. It's a tragedy when you have to depend on another country to give you all that you need to survive in terms of food. So we would just want to ensure that we could at least supply ourselves with something. We know it won't be everything, and we know it won't be huge. It can be, but we want to ensure that there isn't chaos when there is no food.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Portia.
Thank you.
Give us a quick overview who you are, and then if you can give us a little synopsis of what you would have seen having been here in the Virgin Islands for these sessions and what happened on Sunday.
Okay, so my name's Erle Rahaman-Noronha, and I practice regenerative agriculture with kind of permaculture is what I teach. And I'm from Trinidad, from Samaki Ecosystems, which is a 35-acre farm in Trinidad where we produce flowers, food, fish. We do forestry as well as we teach workshops. So I was brought here to do a 5-day workshop on regenerative agriculture, and I've enjoyed myself over here. The Virgin Island Horticultural Society made it all happen. They're a very new society, but they're very dynamic. They seem to be doing a great job, and they found ways of getting me over here. And when I first came in the first thing I did was attend their, what would it be called?
Yes, the fair.
The fair,
yes.
the Horticultural Society fair, where I was doing some demonstrations on backyard gardening. And then the last Monday to Friday, I've been working, teaching them about workshops, teaching them about how to look at water in your system, how to harvest water, how to conserve water, because water is a big issue here on the Virgin Islands. We're looking at how to keep your soil fertile, how to replenish your soil, how to feed your soil, how to move away from chemicals so that you are just recycling all the organic matter on your site and letting it go back into the soil. We are also looking at how to grow different types of food, how to incorporate trees into the landscape, because trees can help to shelter a lot of what you're growing, as well as certain trees can actually produce a lot. And we were talking about breadfruit maybe as something that will replace some of the wheat that we need to import. So that is, in a nutshell, what we've been looking at. And tomorrow I go to
Virgin Gorda.
Virgin Gorda.
From what you would
Where
have seen, are
we'll
you
do-
convinced that the Virgin Islands can produce a lot to feed itself?
Well, I have gone to a few sites where we've taught some of the different aspects of the workshops, and each of those sites has been quite dynamic at showing the different kind of foods that they can grow, and they're doing it. So they are good examples of me believing that yes, it is possible to grow more food here. We just need to educate people on the steps that you need to take, and then to move from there.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right.
What's the one thing that you're going to take back to Trinidad, whether it be mental, physical, from the Virgin Islands?
So I did enjoy meeting everyone over here. Everyone has been great. They've been very friendly. I do run, and there's hills everywhere. So I suffered. I'll go back stronger. Thank you.
Thank you so
All right.
much. Okay, first I'll start with you, Mr. Hud. You want to tell me the benefits you would have derived from these workshops?
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for asking the question. One of the things, as you know, I've always preached, especially when I was working with my students for community service, is the whole issue of agriculture and the importance of agriculture. And on top of that, is always my belief it is their God-given right on a small little island to know how to feed themselves. So when the Horticultural Society decided to have a workshop of this nature, I thought it was very fitting at this time that here it is, I'm now retired, and they have an opportunity for me to literally learn a little more about agriculture. And now I'm learning about a new initiative called permaculture. And that is literally how do you actually grow fruits, vegetable, ornamental in a way that God intended it to grow. In other words, you're not just clearing a whole field with the intention of planting fruits, crops for commercial purposes, but you're growing it in such a way that it is sustainable. So the benefits, how do you sustainably grow fruits, vegetables for healthy living?
Awesome. And I ask you the same question. How beneficial is this to you?
I think the key thing is that we've all realized that a lot of this is actually common sense, and we just needed a little bit of reminding that we can do this. I think the message has sort of been agriculture is a challenge here in the BVI because of the topography. But honestly, no, we've learned techniques and processes that it does make it viable. And I think enough enthusiastic and now knowledgeable people, we can make it really sustainable here.
Okay. And the youngest person among us,
That's what we need.
represent Green VI. What does this mean to you to be a participant of these sessions?
So, I'm very grateful that I have been a participant because, as you know, not many young adults like me are very how do you put it?
Engaged.
Engaged into this kind of thing. So it has been very useful, very educational, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, there are some things that you know that you can go try to start do and encourage others to
continue doing. Yeah.
Okay. All of you or any one of you could say, what is the one thing you would want to say now to the people of the Virgin Islands, especially realizing that this started out as a flowering something and ornamental stuff, and we've evolved into so quickly to zooming in on growing our own foods.
Right. Well, first of all, I think there has been this bad set of information that has been spread throughout the Virgin Islands that the only thing that we can grow is moran bush. And for some reason, it has stuck in our head that we cannot grow food in the Virgin Islands.
Enough to feed
ourselves to where it's now a stigma and it has caught on. This workshop here, what we've realized, especially we had a day when we actually was asked to bring samples of soil and where we can do a quick test of that sample to see the type of soil that you have on your property. Now, for the purpose of what I understood now is that you can fix the environment that you have. Let's say you have a plot of land and you test that probably may not be able to grow certain things that you want to grow. Let's say, for example, if you want to grow only vegetables like tomatoes, carrots, and white potato. But you might find that your soil, after giving it a small test, that is not conducive for that. You can now find ways of improving that soil to grow what you possibly want with this type of knowledge, especially from the permaculture aspect of it. So you could put in different types of fruits, vegetables, trees that would help to improve that soil, that it is able to be useful for medicine, food eating, food for animals and stuff like that. So that, I think, is a very big myth.
Okay, you don't need to import a scientist to come test your little yard to know if
People learn how to do it now.
You now know how to do it.
We now know how to do it.
All right, thank you so much for your time and for sharing.
Bless your heart and thank you for coming.